to another episode of Holding Down the Fort with me, Alejandro Soto. Put the intro music at the beginning there because last time I interviewed a musician and I didn't play one of his songs. I can't believe that. How could I be so thoughtless and careless and just totally miss a good opportunity to play a real song? So I'm going to play one of, and the person I interviewed was Mr. Kyle Smith, K. Edward Smith. If you haven't listened to the last episode, please go do that. It was a really good one. Kyle and I had a real nice conversation. We talked about his musical projects, and so I'm going to play one of his songs at the end of this little intro. I don't really have much to say in this intro. I'm recording this Monday, May 15th, and honestly, it's been a cluster cuss of a day. I don't know about you and where you're at in the universe, but shit was weird for me today. It's left me confused, and so I also just spent like 2 hours trying to work out technical difficulties and accomplished like absolutely nothing. So I'm just a little flabbergasted at this point, and I'm probably talking too long, so let's move on. Today's guest is Judith Nastally. She's a good friend of mine, has been for quite a couple years now. She owns a really awesome landscaping business that I worked for, continue to work for in this moment, and she knows a lot about plants. I had some people tell me that they were real interested in hearing about plants, native plants, things they could put in their yard, maybe places they could come and foraging, urban foraging. Sorry, I'm looking at my recording program. All these technical difficulties just have me so off kilter, man. Nothing will do that, like technical difficulties. But Judith, I interviewed a couple weeks ago now, and we had a really nice conversation. We always have good stuff to talk about when we are able to make the time to discuss things that are on our minds and on our hearts. And we had one of those chats a couple weeks ago, and I got to record it. So I hope you all enjoy this conversation I had with Judith Nastally, and before that, enjoy Dust and Mud by Mr. K. Edward Smith. no rules. No holds bar. All right, well, we're recording. So, Judith, Nastally, thanks for joining me and holding down the fort. We're in your living room right now. We can see your backyard garden through your gorgeous, like, are these sliding doors? Do these slide?
Yeah, the middle door slides.
Nice. So then your backyard garden is on the other side. I want to hear about that at some point while we're sitting here.
Okay.
And to give people an idea of who you are, we met, what was it, 5-6 years ago now? It might be like coming up on 6 years ago now.
Yeah, I'm thinking 6 years.
And you own a landscaping business, Jalen Associates, and I wanted to do landscaping, and we got connected through my mom. Actually, you met her, and then she connected us, and I worked in the field for you for a while, do some office stuff for you now, and we've done some other stuff together here and there. So yeah, your thing is plants, like native plants specifically, right?
Right, correct. Yeah, and you're a wonderful office assistant, Alejandro. You've done more than that. You've designed my website.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did that.
You learned our accounting system. You do our billing, our invoicing. I mean, you do an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, tell people about you. Who are you, Judith?
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet everyone. So my name is Judith Nastally. I have loved plants probably all my life. I remember a picture of me in my grandmother's garden when I was about 3 years old, and it was my happy place. And I remember one time when I was walking home from school. I grew up in the East in New Jersey in a very small town, and actually I stopped by this lady's garden, and my mom had to come and find me because I was just sitting in her garden enjoying, and I was in grade school then. So I think I've always been fascinated with plants and insects, and being outside is my happy place. Though it took me a number of years to figure that out really for myself. I have my degree in design, and before that I worked in financial institutions and banking behind a desk. And I realized I didn't really like being inside all the time. And I couldn't wait for lunchtime to get outside and take a walk. And I started to think a lot about that when I was doing kitchen and bath designing. I was in a windowless office on a computer all day, and I kept thinking, this is okay, but it's not fulfilling me from the inside. I felt really kind of confined and cut off. And eventually I left that job, and I just opened myself up to whatever happened. And I was driving down Jefferson, here in Fort Wayne, Jefferson Boulevard, with my son in the car, and he was a teenager. He's grown now. And I saw a sign for Newhouser Garden and Gifts, and I'd never been there. I decided to stop. I just drove in on a whim, and I saw they were hiring, and I thought, well, I'll go in and talk to them and just see what they need and what they're thinking about. And I met Jeff Markley there, who I've known for more than 20 years now. And I said to him, hey, do you know Kenton Newhouser? Because I went to high school with him, and I was on the school newspaper.
Oh, cool.
And he goes, yeah, he owns the business.
No way.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said, too. I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, I have my degree in design, and I said I really love plants and love being outside. So he just about hired me on the spot.
Nice.
And it really began a whole opening up of looking at plants, seeing how they're grown, working with customers, trying to fit the best, perennial shrub or tree for their needs as they came into the garden center. And it was a beautiful place to work. It was gorgeous. There was a pond there. There were beautiful plantings. So it was fun. Jeff Markley is hilarious and funny and really good with customers, remembers everybody's name. So it was a healing place to be, I think, for myself. And also, I'm still friends with Laura Stein, who I met there.
Oh, cool.
Also, so it was just a nurturing place for me to be. But I've been studying about herbs and plants since I was in my 20s. So Michael Tierra was my very first herbalist that I fell in love with. He's still teaching at the East West School in California.
Okay.
And I still refer back to his books that are falling apart. I have them tied together with ribbon.
Nice.
So he was really my first introduction to plants. And it's been really interesting over the course of 40 years to be working with native plants, which is my love now, and see a lot of plants that Michael talked to me about in the books, see native plants in the same botanical family, or maybe those exact same plants that he talked about. So all those years ago of reading about them and now being able to see them and sometimes work with them has been, I don't know, like this wonderful discovery.
Yeah.
Like, since you know me so well, Alejandro, you know I love chocolate. It's like being in a store filled with chocolate. That's what it's like for me. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it really is. So I love plants and I love being outside. I'm a master gardener, and I have more than 20 years experience in the field, and I specialize in native plants and also organic gardening. But I always tell people I'm really a plant lover. And though I don't plant or advocate for invasive species, of course, I really want people to get outside and have interactions, whether it's with birds or insects or butterflies. And you can't have a lot of those if you have a yard full of plants that are from Asia or Japan, because those don't draw the insects, they don't feed them. And I really want people to understand that if we're not feeding insects, that we can't have birds, because they need the caterpillars to feed their young. Even if the adult birds are eating seeds or nuts or come to your feeder, they can't feed their little ones that. So 85% of our native birds really need those caterpillars in order to raise their young. And so if we want to keep enjoying nature, we have to have native plants.
Yeah, that part of enjoying it is like, I think something that people don't realize is connected to like this movement of like native plants and organic gardening. Like, I think everybody kind of realizes that the earth is in rough shape, or we are actually in rough shape. The earth's gonna be fine, but the earth, the way we like it, is teetering in a point. And so like, I think a lot of the attention has been on like food production, and like that's an important thing to know about, but the world you come from is like much closer to people's like everyday lives, and I think that aspect of like what you do and what you're interested in is something that like people don't realize. They don't realize that right in front of them, right outside their door, is an opportunity to like help the earth, or like just at least protect the version of the earth that we like to enjoy, right?
Right, that's a really good point. I like that a lot. And one of the ways I feel like we can get people outside, like you and I were speaking about earlier, is to have some sort of food that's available.
Yeah.
Like native strawberries, Virginiana, other from Virginia. Those are really delicious, and those aren't the little yellow flowered ones that people find in their yard. Those aren't really even native, but the white flowered ones that have the delicious red berries are so good. And our soil isn't super conducive to growing blueberries, but I really think everybody should have one in their yard. You can add some soil acidifier to it. they're so beautiful, white flowers, and then, you know, you get those little berries mid-season, and then the foliage is just beautiful red, orange colors. So that's a good way to get people outside and kind of a starter plant. But red buds are delicious. They grow here. Mine is blooming right behind you with the beautiful fuchsia colored flowers. Even though they're called red buds, they're really kind of a fuchsia pink. And those flowers are edible. So I've already harvested some this year, and I made some scones, red bud scones, that were delicious, gluten-free, dairy-free, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful plant, and then later on, so it flowers first, of course, and then the leaves come on, and then the seeds, and actually when the seed pods first come on, they're edible. Now don't try to eat the brown ones from last year, that'll hurt your mouth, but
They get like really tough.
really tough.
Turn
But
to rocks.
exactly, but the green ones are nice, kind of like pea pods, and you can steam them. So that's a plant that a lot of people can identify, and now you know that it's edible. Not that I want you to go and, you know, harvest all the flowers off the tree. We have to be kind of mindful of leaving things for the insects too. And some birds will actually eat flowers off of trees too. So we want to leave enough for everyone, but I think that it's good that we can have some too. That's what the plants are here for. They're really here to not only nurture us and feed us, but expand our consciousness. That we're part of the whole web of life.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of that, of like making stuff from plants you've just pulled out of your yard. Like when I ride my bike over here, I'm leaving, you're always like pointing out, oh, well, this is good right here, this is gonna bloom in a few weeks and can like do this with it, and like it's just all in your yard. So like what are some of the things that like you have been able to do, and like what have you been able to make out of stuff that most people would just think are weeds? Because I know you've done that.
Yeah, I've done a lot of it, and I really enjoy it. It makes me really happy to forage in my yard, so I don't use any chemicals. Everything's organically grown in my yard. Violets are one that are blooming right now that are beautiful. So the violet flowers and the leaves are edible. So with the flowers, you can just wash them off. Put them on a piece of toast, dry them first so you don't have soggy toast, right? But they're delicious, sprinkled with a little bit of cinnamon and maybe some non-dairy butter. You could, you know, drizzle a little honey or maple syrup on top. Really light, you know, delicious. And then the flowers can be candied as well. I've never done it, but I don't have the patience for that. But I have made violet syrup as well, which is really good. And it's really a fun experiment with your kiddos, because depending on how much lemon juice you add, you can change the color of it. Changes the pH, so it'll make it more blue or more purple.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of science in there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so get your kiddos involved. I love the leaves too. I'm just finishing up the last of my leaves that I harvested and dried, and I use for tea throughout the season. So they're really soothing, a really gentle, like a light floral scent to them, I would say. You can't even taste it. Very green, so lovely tea.
Nice.
So they're blooming right now. Non-native, but not considered invasive, are dandelions. So I've already harvested mine. I'm already drinking tea from the leaves. If I get a chance, I'm really busy with my landscaping business. I will go out and harvest the flowers, and I'll make usually muffins with them. But you can make pancakes. So you just want to harvest the flower petals then. You want to take the bracts, the like green part off the back side.
Okay. Okay.
If you're going to just eat the flowers. So non-native, but really delicious, and they grow everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to feel bad about harvesting them. There's plenty for everybody.
Yeah, and like with the greens, they go bad at a certain point. Like they get that like white waxy stuff that tastes super bad at like a certain point, right?
Well, depending, the dandelion leaves, usually the best thing to do is harvest them right away as soon as they're coming up now. They're better now than when they rebloom because they'll be a little drier and tougher.
Okay,
So harvest them now, wash them well, dry them off, and you can let them air dry, which is what I do, but then you can get a dehydrator if you want. Makes it quicker. You can use your oven at a really low temp, or if you have a gas stove, you can just turn on the pilot light or just the light, and they can dry that way too. Don't be like me and turn on your oven and burn them.
Oh, jeez.
I've done that, which is can be just a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So leave the door open slightly so you don't do that. I don't know if they're subject to like any fungal diseases that I know of. But definitely you want them well dried. And the secret to any leaf that you're drying for tea has to be super crispy when you crunch it up in your fingers. So when you hear that kind of really crunchy sound, then you know it's dried enough. And make sure to label your jars, clean them well, and label your jars, because I've done this also, harvested, put it away, and then you forget what you harvested, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Yeah, all that time spent out in the yard and you got a whole bunch of unlabeled jars.
Yes, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, I've had that same thing, and then I just end up throwing it all away. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't even know. So
right, exactly.
Those little things like actually make a big difference in these projects. That's cool.
Yeah, one of my latest things I'm trying, I haven't used it yet, was in February I went out with my friend David and we gathered cottonwood buds from the cottonwood trees. So you want to gather them before they're opened. And most of the time cottonwood trees grow really tall, 60, 90 feet tall.
Okay.
So it's good to go out if there's been a lot of wind, because those buds will break off and drop around the base of the trees. So we scavenged those at various places around the city. And you don't want to wash those because you'll wash the resin off. Get a dedicated jar that you'll only use for cottonwood buds. You'll never get it clean from the resin. And we gathered those, and then I used almond oil, and I'm soaking those. I actually shake the jar a couple times a week. Those are antimicrobial, make a wonderful smelling oil. You can use it for your hair, for your skin. You can use it for face cream. Another name is Balm of Gilead. So super expensive if you would go out to buy that. And it can macerate in the jar for up to a year. I might not wait that long to make mine into something.
Yeah.
But it's been really fun, and I love the fact that nature is giving us these plants, for us to use. And she really wants us to co-create with her. So I always stop and take a moment and, take a nice breath in and get really centered in myself before I gather. And I like to ask permission, even if it's in my own yard. Is it okay if I take some of these things? And then I listen, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But that's my way of tuning into nature and allowing her to teach me, which I feel like she's been a really good teacher. I'm so thankful to be on this planet at this point in time. Yeah,
it's valuable. Like, there's some like in some Buddhist texts they say that like human life and like the human realm is the only place you can actually get anything done, and it's like very clear in like what you're talking about here of like how you're able to interact with your environment and like get in touch with that, and like that act of getting in touch, I think, is like a remedy of sorts for a lot of the like mental anguish and like suffering that people have right now. Like a teacher of mine just gave a talk the other day, and it like he was going into some pretty heavy stuff. You know, he's a Buddhist teacher, so he's talking about suffering, and he like got into some pretty heavy stuff, and I myself was thinking like, man, is he really going to end up on this? Like he used an example of like an active shooter situation and how to like stay centered in that like intense stuff, like needs to be talked about, but like a downer. And like I asked him for a question at the end, like for a meditation or something that he could offer us, like a breath awareness exercise. And he said, you know, actually I think focusing on your breath will make most people more anxious. What you should do if you're feeling anxiety, just go outside and look at the sky and think about how like the sky is like your mind, and like reestablish, and this is now me interpreting, but like I heard him say like reestablish that connection to like something outside of yourself, like remember that your world that you're so wrapped up in is so infinitely small and like in a certain perspective insignificant, and then in another perspective very significant, and like a way of getting like past the bullshit that so many people are wrapped up in is just to like, yeah, go outside and take a deep breath. like that's really cool. And like, yeah, it's possible to do right outside your back door. I can walk outside and look at the sky. Yes. I can spend 2 minutes looking at the sky. It's not hard. Like, right,
yeah. Exactly. You know, when you were talking about that, Alejandro, it reminded me when I was studying to be a master gardener, and it was a very intensive course. Ricky Kemmery was the educator at Purdue Extension at the time, and one of the things I read, which is based on research from Purdue University, is that, speaking of safety, right, that the presence of trees guarantees that we feel the safest, and actually the safest neighborhoods have more trees. Yeah. So that correlates really well with, you know, the teaching that you were learning. And something you and I have talked about too is that in this life, in these physical forms in our bodies, that pain is inevitable. But suffering is optional.
Yeah.
It depends on our perspective. Are we promoting, you know, suffering by what we're focusing on? Or are we promoting some joy and happiness in the midst of the pain?
Yeah, because it does all exist.
It does, yeah. Like, all at the same time.
Yeah. And like, I have been like struggling with the idea of like where I have like power and agency in the world, you know, like wondering if I'm just a pawn at the behest of karma's divine hand. And I like was lamenting to a friend of mine about this, and she said that like, and yeah, she like pointed out that the place where we have like the most power and agency is like in our like choice of how to act in the moment, of like what you're saying, like like we can make the choice to like support and like feed the suffering, or to feed and support the joy, and like have that be what's our focus.
Right. So if we go outside and we smell the air, you can smell the soil now, you know, it's not frozen anymore, which is delightful for those of us in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And the grass is getting really green, and you know, the flowers are coming on the trees, and perennials are coming up, you know, some of the little tiny flowers, like I think about Spring Beauty, Claytonia, those kind of little flowers. The violets are coming up too. So there's all that delight in being outside. And then we can look up at the sky, and often it's gray here in Indiana, so you want to run outside, especially if you see you know, some sunshine. and some blue sky. But I think it's really an opportunity to stop and just be really aware. And like you said, the present moment is really the best moment to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And being outside in the present moment, that's delightful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if you're getting rained on, you know, even if it's windy outside, you know, there's delight in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, there's something to experiencing the roughness of nature that, like,
yes,
I find like awe-inspiring. Like last December, I was in an Airbnb like just off of Lake Michigan, and like
lovely.
At night, hearing the lake wind just whipping through the trees, and like not having, you know, my speaker playing Spotify to distract me, or no sounds of traffic or whatever, and to just like hear how like strong the
yes.
like Mother Nature is. It filled me with like a deeper respect for like the earth, and like, oh yeah, like this thing can mess us up. Like, we are just these squishy, soft little monkeys that think we're so tough in our cars and our houses. But like, and I mean, there's been some events recently, like natural disasters, that have like brought that to public awareness, that like, yeah, the earth can dish it out. And so to be able like to, I appreciate you and like how you have given me, like, been an example of how to interact with nature in a way that like fosters that connection of like joy and delight. And I think more people would benefit from that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you, Alejandro. Well, it's been so good to have you with me all these years. I feel like we have a really nice friendship, that we share a lot of loves of nature, love of food, love of Buddhism. I mean, we have all these points of connection. So it's been really good, you know, to bounce things off of one another,
Yeah.
to learn from each other. I think it's been really beautiful. I feel really blessed by having you in my life, and I wanted to tell you that. And I feel blessed being a landscaper and being able to get outside still, you know, to work in the earth, to plant native plants, to, you know, bring joy to people in whatever ways that I can. Hopefully just my presence is what I really hope. Just my presence with my love of nature, just being on someone's property would hopefully bless them and the plants there. You know, that's kind of my ultimate goal. I don't talk about it. I don't tell my clients that. You know what I mean?
In a consultation, and it's going to be a $50 fee for the blessing.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
We can go without that, but you know, it's not going to be as nice.
That's right. Your plants won't do as well. Which is hilarious. But I think that's true in a way for all of us too. You know, the more we enjoy being outside, the more we really bless the earth and all of her creation. You know, whether it's insects or birds or animals, or in whatever ways we can. And you with your music, I mean, often you play outside. So I feel like that's a blessing too. So there's all kinds of ways to be a blessing, but it's really simple just to walk outside and be. And we love serving our customers. I mean, being a landscaper is not a get-rich-quick kind of job by any means. So you have to love it. You have to love being outside in all the different forms that takes wind and rain and snow, and interacting with people and the animals and plants that are out there.
Yeah. Well, Judith, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Is there anything you want to share? Anything you have happening? Any places people can find you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, and I'll have Alejandro tell you that so I won't get it wrong. Because you're always typing it. And also, we're getting ready to have a live seminar and teach people container gardening. And that will be in June. I think it's the 24th at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And we'll send out an email, but you can contact us as well. And yeah, we'd love to have you. So that'll be really fun. And then in August, I'm planning another seminar to be here on my property to teach people how to make elderberry syrup. We'll do some tasting of some different food items you can make with that. You'll see my elderberry. We might have a few for sale. We definitely have some exclusive maple syrup that people can purchase. And so we're planning more, and we're open to discovering with our people on our newsletter list, people that come to, our seminars, what all that they would like to learn. Because we'd like to serve. We're here to serve. So if you tell them my website, so I get it, so it gets right.
Yeah, it's jalen.associates, and link to all of that, links to all that will be in the show notes, so it'll be easy for people.
Yay, thank you, Alejandro. It's really been my pleasure.
Back at ya. Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Judith, for coming on the show, being a good guest, having some fun holding down the fort with, that time we got together. I'm so flabbergasted, guys. Like, tomorrow better be a better day. Here's to a good Tuesday. I tell you what. So links to all of Judith's stuff will be below. If you are interested in the container garden workshop that she's doing on June 24th, go ahead and go to her website, go to the contact page, and submit a form and tell us that you want to be on the email list and that you're interested in the container workshop, and we'll get you on our MailChimp list and get you more information as the date comes closer. So that's going to be really cool. She's working with some local plant growers to bring some starts out for people, and I think she's going to do a little art project in there. It's going to be fun. So June 24th, if you're looking to do some planting, that'll be the time. It's going to be at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in Fort Wayne, so that's going to be a lot of fun. On to things that I'm doing. Pyroscope, the fire spinning troupe here in Fort Wayne, of which Julia Catherine is a member. She was my first guest on the show. Pyroscope is going to be performing at Busker Fest this Saturday. That is May 20th. I got to do the music for their set. I mixed the songs together. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to go down there and see their show. So if you're able to make it to Busker Fest May 20th and see Pyroscope, I think they go on at 8:30. So that's going to be a lot of fun. June 4th, we have an ecstatic dance at Promenade Park. Music brought by yours truly. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a photographer there, a local fellow who's really good. Going to be doing some pictures for us. There's going to be an area where there's no pictures, so if you don't want to have your face on the internet, again, more than it already probably is, there's going to be an area that's photo free, and we won't snap your visage. That's June 4th at Promenade Park, that ecstatic dance. June 10th, I'm playing the Healing Hands Farmers Market. Not a farmers market. Oh, geez. Okay, hold on. Back to one. God damn it. I cannot even believe that I'm probably going to put all of this in there and not even edit it. Okay, June 10th, I am playing the Bar Street Farmers Market in downtown Fort Wayne. That's going to be really exciting. June 10th, Farmers Market in the morning. Catch me playing some songs. And then the day after that, June 11th, I'm going to be running sound for, it's called the Poetry Affair. A friend of mine puts together a little poetry event. We did one last year and it was really cool. So that'll be June 11th at the Healing Hands Spa in Fort Wayne. And that's all I will inform you of now. And, Judith asked if I would put one of my songs at the end of her episode. So actually, that's part of why I spent so much time trying to figure out how to use my equipment properly and failed, because I wanted to make a nice recording of me playing in my living room, but instead you're going to get a nice low quality recording of me on one microphone playing in my living room. So it's a really sweet song. I wrote this while down in Mexico 4 years ago now. Jeez, time flies. Seems like we had a pandemic go on or something, and it's shaken up my internal timepiece. But I wrote this while down in Mexico after spending a day at the beach, getting a real nice sunburn and jumping around in the water. So enjoy this song by me, Alejandro Soto. This is Swim Away. Expanded, reckless, abandoned, running through fields, trying to work out how this feels. Voices tell me not to stay, always try to swim away. And reels, worst it conceals, generate energy, nothing left to set me free. Voices tell me not to stay, always trying to swim away. Chalkboard halls, plastic malls, level the plane, start a new game. Voices tell me not to stay, always try to swim away. Water rose above my ears. This is where I find devotion, down in the depths of all my fears. Waves took me up and down, shoreline looks so far away. Then a smile breaks through my frown, I surf it back the only way.
from above, from below. I'll always know. Voices tell me not to stay.